So, there is a random topic that I want to talk about, and that is because yesterday I was on the internet, as a lot of you guys are, and a photo came up by one of these, NBA, I guess, like reporting pages, kind of like or NBA news pages or whatever. And it was a picture of Evan Mobley, and it was a picture of him, whatever, from, I guess, his vacation or something like that. And Evan Mobley, and basically the caption was like, Evan Mobley, looks like he's super strong, like he put on so much muscle and all that kind of stuff. And so, um, oh, hello, Eyeball Rights, hello, welcome to the live stream. So the picture was Evan Mobley, and he's put on a whole bunch of muscle and stuff like that. And the photo, all that stuff. And so I went to the comments just because I felt like it. And all the comments were saying Photoshop, Photoshop, Photoshop. So I was like, okay, like I didn't really think anything of it because I don't like pay attention like that. But then I went to go search out, I went to go find the original photo because everyone was saying Photoshop. So I was like, let me see. So I found the original photo, and to my eyes, it does look like it's Photoshopped from the photo I saw. Now, maybe I could be wrong, but it really does look like it's Photoshopped. And so I say all this to say, I know this may not reach the target audience that I am intending for it to reach, but we got to stop, not even we, because I'm not doing it, but, we got to stop editing NBA players' photos. The reason is, if the NBA is on the internet, they are going to see that edited photo that went viral, and he's going to get tested, potentially get tested, even though he doesn't look like that and he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't take any kind of stuff. So what I'm trying to say is, in a way, is like, I know people like to edit photos for fun and make all these Photoshops and stuff like that. And, I know that a lot of people don't mean harm by it, but like, I think we need to take a step back and think about, what we're doing. Again, I don't make these kind of edits, but I'm just saying we as a collective, because internet users, when we are making these kind of edits, or when you see other people making these kind of edits and Photoshops to other people's photos, because literally, I remember there was, I don't remember who it was, maybe, I feel like it was Alex Caruso for some reason, but there was a few NBA players I remember who talked about how a Photoshop photo came out of them looking like they had like much bigger muscles on their arms than they already had, and then they got tested because the NBA saw it and they're like, well, we just got to make sure and stuff like that, right? And so I don't fault the NBA for just, being safe, in those situations, but like, just be cautious when you're editing, other players', photos, because you may accidentally get them tested for, what, when they didn't even do anything wrong, but yet they're being tested because this edited photo of them makes them look like, they might have been doing something, right? So just keep that in mind when you see these edited photos that other people are making, or if you're editing these photos, just, be careful. Because you are potentially affecting them in a way that may cause them to have other things to happen to them in the NBA, and it all comes from just like editing somebody's photos. So just be mindful of that, okay? Another thing I want to talk about is obviously the NBA season is still a bit away, which of course all of us NBA fans, wish it was here already. But we know the West is loaded, of course, and the East is pretty wide open. So the Cavs are projected to probably be the #1 seed. I believe that is the projection. And I talked about this on a previous live stream where I said, I feel like between who is the best team in the East, it's close between the Knicks and the Cavs. I might lean Knicks, but I could understand someone leaning Cavs. Like, I feel like it's close either way. I don't think there's a wrong answer there, because they both have their strengths and weaknesses. But I guess my question for the Cavs, since, talking about Evan Mobley, at the beginning of this live stream is that, are we maybe underrating the Cavs in some ways? Like, are we like not projecting what they're actually going to be based on all that talent they have? They have a really, really talented roster. And if Evan Mobley, despite the Photoshop photo, he still is getting stronger every year in the editing. And so, if he takes another step forward, like, he could potentially, he could be in MVP conversations. I don't know if he's going to be in MVP conversations next year. But like, he definitely could be. Like, he has the ability to be an MVP caliber player because he can do so much on the offensive side and so much on the defensive side. And he's still growing his offensive game. And if the Cavs are the number 1 seed, obviously that gives him, a decent chance. Well, obviously Donovan Mitchell will be the leading scorer, so that's why it would be kind of hard for him to win MVP. But like, if Evan Mobley is, close to Donovan Mitchell in terms of scoring and obviously defensively and rebounding, all that stuff, he's going to be, better than Donovan Mitchell. There could be a chance where Evan Mobley is in conversations for MVP. And so I say all that to say, if Evan Mobley plays like an MVP caliber player, the Cavs could be a really scary team. Like, they already, of course, are going to be really good. We all expect them to be good. But like, I feel like their success kind of depends on what Evan Mobley ends up doing. And I don't think that's like a shocking conclusion, but like, if Evan Mobley can be an MVP caliber player, I mean, the sky is the limit for that team because, again, the talent up and down the roster. You got Darius Garland, who has literally been an all-star before. Donovan Mitchell has been an all-star multiple times. Like, you have 2 all-stars right there. Evan Mobley was a first-time all-star last year. So they got 3 all-stars in the starting lineup in their primes. Like, Evan Mobley hasn't, like, hit his prime yet, of course. He's still growing. So, like, Evan Mobley is not in his prime. But, like, he's getting there. So if we're talking about a Cavs team who has all these players, like, in their prime, and if Evan Mobley takes that next jump, the Cavs team might be really scary. Like, they might be really scary. And again, it just depends. Like, obviously, Jared Allen's going to do his thing, and Donovan Mitchell's going to do his thing, and Darius Garland. There were some reports that Darius Garland could be traded, and those have died down. So I guess he's not being traded anytime soon. But, like, there was a report, I believe, that came out that they almost traded him at the trade deadline. And I can't remember for who it was for. But, like, a report came out that he was in trade talks for somebody. So the fact that they almost traded him, obviously, like, he's a professional. He's going to do his job. But, like, that's kind of, that could strain the relationship between Darius Garland and the organization, because when you hear that you were in talks for a trade, and it might have been the Kevin Durant trade, but I'm not sure. But regardless, when you hear that you were in talks for a trade, like, your name, and I don't remember or why the trade, wasn't going to happen, but just the fact that he was one of the centerpieces of the trade, it's kind of like, again, everybody's a professional. They know that trades can happen. And so it's not, like, personal in that sense. But at the same time, it's like, is that what you really think of me? From, like, the basketball player's standpoint, they're like, you don't think I'm good enough to help us win a championship? You would rather have that player over me? So honestly, like, I could see both perspectives. And so, like, again, he's going to be a professional about it, of course. But with that report coming out, of course, that's not something you want, coming out, especially around a team who is building something over there, and a team that was the number 1 seed last year and has a really good shot to make some noise next year. You really don't want stuff like that coming out or happening. And so, again, I'm not saying it's going to affect anything necessarily next year. Again, I think Darius Garland's a professional, but I'm just saying, like, that's not the best thing, Somebody said getting Lonzo is going to help them a lot. Yeah, I like the pickup of Lonzo. When they got Lonzo, to me, and again, I guess nothing is set in stone, But to me, I was like, is the Lonzo trade really just for Lonzo to be a backup point guard? And the reason I said that is because this was before LeBron, had the whole Rich Paul statement about him, not being happy or looking at his potential future, whatever the statement was. You know what I'm talking about. Before that came out, the Lonzo trade happened, and I was like, are we sure the Lonzo trade is for Lonzo to be a backup point guard? And the reason I said that is I was like, well, what if they try to trade for LeBron? And in that situation, Darius Garland, sorry, Darius, would be and would have been one of the centerpieces of the trade with LeBron. Now, it's very difficult to make a trade because LeBron's salary and the Cavs have restrictions and all that stuff. But, like, my mind immediately went to, is this actually going to be the time where LeBron goes back to the Cavs on a trade? Because Lonzo is, when healthy, a starting caliber point guard, like a quality one, right? So that's where my mind went. And now it looks like LeBron's not being traded right now, so Lonzo will probably be a backup point guard for them, at this moment. But regardless, backup starter, whatever he is, as long as he is healthy, he definitely helps. Like, he is a really good player. It's just unfortunate that he really has not been healthy, until last year. But prior to that, he was out like 3 years. Like, and it's not his fault, but when healthy, if you remember, the Bulls were like the #1 seed with him. 1 or 2, like they were up there. They were playing great basketball. And I'm not saying I would have picked them to win the championship, and I wasn't picking them back then either, but like they looked like a really good team. Like they were good. They could have made some kind of noise in the playoffs. Like that was a healthy Lonzo, and they had DeRozan, they had Zach LaVine. I believe Vucevic was there too. Like it was a good team. And I think they were like top 10 in defense, maybe. Like I think they were a pretty good defensive team. So Lonzo can have that kind of impact, but obviously he needs to be healthy in order to do that. So as long as he's healthy, he is definitely going to help the Cavs. So I agree with you there. So in general, it's just like, again, I think it depends on what Evan Mobley does, because if he, again, takes that MVP step, a step towards an MVP caliber player, the Cavs may be looking like a completely different team. Because if anytime you have an MVP caliber player on your roster, that is going to up your chances to win. Doesn't matter, who you are, what team you are. Like, think about it. Look at like Giannis. People think the Bucks have a chance potentially just because of Giannis. Now, I wouldn't pick the Bucks to go to the finals. No offense to Giannis. I just don't think they have enough. But the reason that people are even giving them a chance is because they have Giannis, who is an MVP caliber player like every year. And I'm not saying Evan Mobley is going to be Giannis next year or anything like that, but what I'm saying is like when you have a player playing at that level, it gives you an opportunity to potentially get there. So I'm just saying, look out for Evan Mobley, but stop editing his photos. Leave his photos alone so he doesn't get tested, because there's no reason to add that to NBA players, workload for no reason. Just be careful, okay, when you're editing photos. But watch out for Evan Mobley and the Cavs next season. So thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon. Bye.